Competition in the automotive world is fierce, with manufacturers going up against one another for market position. But sometimes there just might be as much competition within one brand. Hey, welcome to this edition of Road Warrior. I'm your host, Grant Robertson. Now, I'm not saying there's sibling rivalry over at Nissan, but this week's test drive, well, maybe push the limits just a hair. Now, we've all experienced sibling rivalry, and for me, that meant back in high school, I was kind of the dorky yearbook kid, while my brother was the all-star sports athlete. What that also meant is, well, his pictures were up above the mantle, while mine were sitting there by the couch. What it means in the automotive world is, while one vehicle takes the shadows, the other one, well, gets the limelight. Well, maybe over at Nissan, things have changed. Specifically, what we have here is the 2020 Nissan Altima Platinum Edition with that turbo under the hood. And if I can think back from about a decade ago, wow, how things have changed, and well, even for myself. Now, when I talk about how things have changed for me, that just means I'm a little less dorky than I used to be, but still far from an athlete. So let's not talk about my lack of advancement, but really how the Nissan has gotten to where it is today. Now, first off, about a decade ago, when you looked at the Altima, pretty much a plain Jane. As it sweep back here, very stout rear end, an implied spoiler, but no true sport. That was left for the Maxima. Now you could say the Altima is getting a little bit more styling cues from its other sibling. Now, where you see it is truly from the profile. Chiseled to perfection, nice edge lines, and really this sporty, fluid architecture as you sweep down. Really this implied darken accent right here almost separates the roof from the body. A lot of flaring out around the haunches and nice sporty wheels. The big thing with the Altima might just be that grille warfare. So as the Altima has moved away from its original look and styling and plain Jane atmospheric exterior and really started to move into a Maxima shadow-like quality, well, the best thing about it is you're getting the best of both worlds. Really with the Maxima trickling down design-wise to what we see here. Now, naturally, the Maxima keeps its own cue points, really with the front end that's stylized differently, the flare out and the profile really more dynamic, and naturally what's going on under the hood are, well, totally different as well. Really with the Altima delivering the 4 cylinders, while the Maxima holds on to the V6 and a little bit more sporty-like dynamic. But obviously, from the outside, there's some twin-like qualities going on. Now, if you look back about a decade ago, the Altima definitely was the smaller sibling, leaving the Maxima to be the flagship, proverbial, bigger sedan. But as we've advanced and gotten to where we are now, both are almost mirror images, not just on the outside, but also when it comes to overall size. Now, when you look at the numbers, both vehicles are right about 193 inches, give or take a couple clicks between the two. As for wheelbase, maybe the only big difference with the Altima having a 111-inch wheelbase, with the Maxima 109. As for width and height, basically dead on. The width around about 72 inches, the height, the Altima going to be a little bit bigger at 57. Now, with the competition heating up in the mid-size segment, the evolution of designs have gotten well far away from standard plain Janes and gone to more of a grille warfare presence. If you look back at the Altima, well, there's just not much going on up here. Now look at it, it's like a piece of art. Now, Nissan touts good old fluid architecture, and naturally you see that from the profile, but don't forget, this is the first thing people see. Now, the stylized V grille, huge open face, allowing that airflow to go through, and fairly modest in overall height. No blunt force trauma here, but nice sweeping around and straightening out just a hair through the middle. Now, chrome accents are naturally emblazoned on this particular model, hence the platinum insignia, really front and center here, and obviously on the sides and there at the back end. But the biggest trend in any vehicle as of late is the headlight assembly. No cylinder shapes anymore, but really menacing eyes, and of course tons of bedazzling when it comes to lighting, rope lighting, and so on. Heck, it's not even just about the headlight anymore, it's about how much wow factor it can deliver. With the Altima, it's not all about looking pretty. There's also some brains built in, specifically when it comes to safety, innovations, but also just simple convenience. And it all starts with the key fob. Now, one thing Nissan does well is by keeping these nice and small. While the competition's pretty much has bulky offering, Nissan just doesn't do it that way, because after all, the only time we interact with this is when we put it in our pocket and we hang it up when we get to the house. Now, what I also like is there's tons of operation. Typical lock and unlock here on the fob, but also remote start. Really allow me just to crank this vehicle up with ease. Now, when it comes to ingress, all you have to do is press the button here on the driver's door. One time, unlocks this, press it again, unlocks all the rest. Now, the reason for that is, in my opinion, safety. If you're by yourself, you only need to get in this one door. If there was to be someone hidden, you were able to unlock everything with one press. Well, naturally, that could give maybe an individual quick access into the car. The only problem I don't like is on rainy days, there are no buttons here at the back, so you can't get quicker access to get right here. Instead, again, it's a two-step process. One big aspect with any sedan is when it comes to overall comfort, and well, not just legroom numbers, but also the comfort of putting your things inside, because certainly it can deliver 4 people, maybe 5 in a pinch, but is there enough leftover room to put their gear inside, especially maybe on a weekend getaway? And what I like is the Altima truly steps up their game here. Now, before we get into that, let's talk about design. And first off, really the color. This scarlet red drew people's attention. It's one of the first things that people kind of checked off and said they liked. Next off is design back here. What I like is body color goes all the way around, and no weird rubber cladding or lower fascia, but nice sleek design. Also, when it comes to these rear taillights, naturally they're embodying that grille warfare, chiseling around and really kind of angling in here, just a little bit more wow factor. Now, for the rear deck lid, no implied spoiler coming up, but instead just an elongation here of the rear deck. What I also like is safety, backup sensors and a backup camera, and I'll show you some other cameras that couple nicely with what's going on back here. Lastly is what lies beneath here, specifically 15.4 cubic feet of space. And what you'll notice is obviously it's very cavernous, all the gear really being shoved back here, but that's to be expected. But what I do like is it can hold the bigger items, specifically golf clubs. And where it does that is obviously with these outer niches, really handling a, well, foursome with no problem. With the overall scale, the Altima is by no means a lightweight, really in the upper mid-size segment. And with that, well, there's one way that Nissan helps to scale the size down for the driver, providing great safety at a glance. And what I'm referring to is obviously the backup camera. That seems to be just standard across the industry, but Nissan takes it one step further with the 360 view, placing cameras here on the side mirror as well as up front. That gives the driver that viewpoint of like a bird flying over this vehicle. As it gets into the tight spots, it can naturally see where it squeezes in. For the Nissan Maxima, you're going to find a V6 offering under the hood, but what I found on this one may be, well, just the second best option, specifically a turbocharged engine. Now, there are 2 power plants for the Altima, a standard 2.5 liter inline 4-cylinder or the as-tested 2.0 liter turbocharged option. Now, that's going to deliver 248 horses and 273 foot-pounds of torque. That compared to the standard Altima, which is around about 188. So naturally, there was some neck-snapping fun that kind of came as a surprise when I got behind the wheel. Now, behind the wheel really was kind of the biggest eye-opening aspect to the Altima, because, well, I just didn't expect it to be, well, so awe-inspiring when it came to power. Now, once I got this kind of in the back, off the beaten path, just a nice closed road, I just wanted to test it out and see, well, what's the really get up and go. And what's great again with this turbo is, well, this just isn't the Altima I used to remember. Now, pretty much just sitting here, stomp the gas, not a lot of neck snapping fun, but once you really get on it, you'll notice that this vehicle can get going. And again, this is a vehicle that I expected to be a little more anemic when it came to power plants, and this truly delivered from the standstill. So naturally, the Altima doesn't have the neck snapping fun off the line. I did kind of infer that, but really what it has is just a lot of giddy up and go, and really with barely little road noise or engine infusing into the cabin. Now, overall comfort is spectacular, really with great ergonomics everywhere around. Now, this was the Platinum, so it had nice enveloping seats. What I don't like is when you have a sporty vehicle and it's just too encapsulating, too much bolstering to all of that. Now, what I like is all the power controls, of course, do have 2 memory settings up here for the driver, so it's helpful to just kind of have your seat position always remember. Now, when it comes to drivability, we did talk about safety, obviously 360 view, but what I do like is that radar-like intensity when it comes to almost an autonomous driving. What I'm referring to is you can set the cruise, that piloting 360 light dynamic. What that does is both help hold your lane, keep you nice and centered, keeps your spatialness there between the other cars, and just sets the pace with what's going on. Now, this is nothing new in the industry, but to have it on an Altima like this, with the power plant, with the safety, with all the conveniences, and then step up when it comes to the cruise control radar sensitivity, well, that to me is just the next level of premium on this vehicle. Looking at legroom numbers, what you're going to have is about 43 inches in the front, 35 inches in the back. Those numbers are a little different when it comes to the Maxima, about 45 in the front, 34 here in the back, but pretty much about even, because 45 is going to be almost way too much for most individuals. So you're going to see equal comfort. Now, what I do like is really the individualized attention here on the back bench. Pretty much just standard styling, but really nice and enveloping. You do have enough room for us a center occupant, a very small hump when it comes to floor space down below. So really you're going to find pretty decent comfort even with 3 people across. Now, for my 6'2" frame, what does that look like? Now, pretty much getting in this area right through here, maybe a slight head banging affair, but once you're in, very cathedral-like and really great overall comfort. Sibling Rivalry really isn't that bad. It's just all of us wanting to have our placement above the proverbial mantle, just a moment in the spotlight. And what I like is, well, it's worked out over at Nissan, really with the Altima growing to what we see today. And really without the Maxima, the Altima just wouldn't have got there. Now, as always, thank you for watching this edition of Road Warrior. Keep both hands on the wheel and eyes straight ahead.